Welcome back to the Body Talks podcast,
Yeah.
where today we're going to be talking about the hot topic of hormones. So many women struggle with this, but we just don't really understand what's happening to our bodies and our nervous systems when it comes to hormones.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things where um whenever we're going through something, and I know this happens with me, I will say things like, oh, it's just my hormones, but it's really so much deeper than that.
The driver of them is cortisol.
Mm,
Cortisol is our stress hormone, right? Everybody has stress, whether it's good or bad stress, everybody experiences it. So, how can we create a better environment in our nervous systems to be able to handle these hormone switches?
right. And like, what does that look like for someone in their day to day?
Our hormones, they shift week to week, yes, but they also shift throughout the day. And it's more so what tools or what routines can we have in place so that they don't spike and drop like they typically do. Yeah, and it's never just hormones, it's nervous system. It's the driver of everything, right? So we can go from feeling fine one week, right? Grounded, protective, clear. The next, anxious, overstimulated, overwhelmed, not understanding because we're dealing with the same stuff week to week, but why does our body respond so differently?
A lot of women will feel like something is wrong, right? But really, it's just our body is trying to communicate something to us. Can you just break down kind of what is happening in our body when we're going through those phases?
So the follicular phase, that's the phase, you just had menses, so it's the first week after that. Estrogen's rising. So most people here can feel pretty good, right? You feel more energized, social. You actually want to go out there and integrate yourself in society. You want to get things done, just tackle stuff, and you're able to be more resilient as well. So you're feeling more regulated in your nervous system. That ovulation hits, right? So that's when everything peaks. You have peak energy, peak confidence, right? You're out there and you're shining bright during ovulation. Your connection and your expression, that is the peak. That's also when we want to do our toughest workouts. The luteal phase, that's when progesterone rises. This is when the nervous system can become more sensitive and more dysregulated. This is when we feel more anxious, more easily overstimulated, or just needing the space to be by ourselves and know we're not crazy.
Yeah, because I feel like this would be the phase where we're starting to beat ourselves up and judge ourselves for, all the ways in which we're feeling, right?
Very much so. That inner mean girl
Yeah.
comes in, right? And she's telling you all the things that you're not doing enough of and how much more you should be doing. When in reality, we really just need a cocoon.
It's giving ourselves that permission to do that, but I want to know, like, why would it be more intense for, say, me versus you? Like, why is it different for so many women?
Honestly, it can come down to lifestyle. It can come down to what routines we have.
It's not all about our hormones. It's about our baseline. It's about the way that we are taking care of ourselves, day to day. So what can someone actually do when they're in that phase of feeling, all these emotions, the anxiety spikes, the overwhelm, the mind is racing, right? They're telling themselves all the ways in which they're failing. Like, what are some simple things that they can do to kind of get themselves back to center?
Just trust that you're going to make through it, right? And it's not going to stay this way. And, you know, do what you need to do for yourself. So if that's limiting going out to networking meetings or limiting how much social interactions you have in a week, changing your workout routine week to week, right? It's all about adjusting with your body, not fighting against it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, when you think about, I think a lot of us women were really hard on ourselves in general anyways. And I know there was like a period of time in my life where I was like, no, 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 this is how I work out every day, whether it was working for my body or against my body. It just was this loop in the back of my mind that if I didn't do it this way, then I was failing. Right. So it makes sense to learn how to listen to our bodies. And that might take some inner work, right? That may take some time to check in with ourselves every day to just see like what's going on here? What do I need truly, not what I think I need.
Right. And that, what we're discussing now is the ego, right? We know that we can lift heavy. We know that we can go to those HIIT classes. We know that we can do all the things, but is that what your body really wants this week?
Right.
And if you try to do all of those things that you're used to doing, what does that look like to your body?
Mm.
Right? It wants to feel safe. It wants to feel nurtured during the luteal phase.
Yeah.
And if we force our bodies to do the things that during our more resilient phases are easier to do,
Mm.
then we're just going to be tapped. We're going to be exhausted. We're going to be, we're going to be more snappy at our partners or our kids or our dogs or whatever. Just the little things that are going to set us off.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we've got to meet our body where it's at rather than, pushing through everything. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
But it's not as easy as we make it seem either.
Right.
This requires effort. It requires work to be able to slow down and be okay with where we're at, right? And having that inner conversation with the critic or the ego of, yeah, I know I can do that, but today I'm going to take it easy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. So what are some things that we can do in those moments where those inner critics or that ego is coming in? What are some things that we can do for ourselves?
Yeah. How can we interrupt these patterns?
Affirmations, journaling really helps well. There's also, if you feel like you're going through some heavy emotions which come up during our cycles, if it's anger, there's healthy ways to release anger. You don't have to snap at the people closest to you. You can release it by screaming in a pillow. You can release it by doing some wood choppers or a lion's breath. If you feel sad, then cry. Do a somatic baptism. Just cry those tears away because it's cleansing your soul and it's preparing you for menses and just releasing all of those emotions that rise up during that cycle.
Yeah. 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 Just like giving the permission to feel what we need to feel is so simple, but so many of us override those feelings because, again, we're stuck in those loops and those patterns of needing to show up a certain way in our lives. And it's really all it does is stuff it down and stuff it down. And it just makes everything so much harder rather than just being in flow with what we truly need. Right. There's
Right?
no more like, what is wrong with me? It's like, what is my body trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our bodies, they're not random, right? They're really intelligent. They really have a flow to them. We just have to kind of access that.
Stop fighting. Support your nervous system. Be kind to yourself and give yourself grace. Right? And sometimes we forget that. We forget to give ourselves grace in the moment, give ourselves compassion, forgive ourselves, right? When we are giving all of this to everybody else, sometimes we need to give that space to ourselves too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes a little bit of learning, if you're not someone who's been able to show up for yourself in this way, it can be really hard to like, where do I start with this? So some of these tools and tips that you're giving, they're so simple. They're so easy to implement. And it's like, the more you understand it, the more you're able to work with it.
If you're a woman, you tend to know what your schedule looks like. Right. And I say most women experience these peaks and then valleys with their hormones throughout the month, but some can be reversed as well. Some might be plummeted during their ovulation and be exhausted and not want to be outward, right? They might want to be inward during their ovulation. So you really have to listen to your own hormones and where you're at. But take a month calendar and look at it, right? See where you're going to be ovulating.
Yeah.
And if you can, try to have that first week of follicular being an ease back up to the spike of cortisol, of ovulation, right? So if you're working out, maybe you start going a little bit harder than you would during the luteal phase, but you're not at peak ovulation yet, so tone it down a bit. As far as scheduling, right? You want to schedule the important meetings or networking events during the times that you're going to have more energy. So where is that? Is that in your follicular phase? Is that during your ovulation phase? Maybe you don't schedule any of those during your luteal phase, right? And then really just having more breath work or somatic movement built into your routine, especially during the luteal phase. And when it comes to caffeine as well, or stimulants, those make it worse. Those make the spikes worse. And if I feel like I'm getting sluggish throughout the day, then I do somatic movement. And that can be vibration in my body. It can be rocking. It can be just really tapping in and just finding some movement that's going to help free up that energy because it's in there, right? So we just have to allow it space to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the more that you understand your body, your cycle, your energy, the more you can begin to work with it. So you're connecting, you're not trying to control it.
If you're on birth control, that can mask the peaks and the valleys a little bit because you have something that is controlling your hormones. In some cases, if you're on birth control, it can make it worse. If you're going through menopause, give yourself even more grace and more compassion because your body is now shifting into a whole new chapter. And with it can come an array of symptoms.
Mm.
And every woman is different when they are experiencing the menopause. It's never the same for anybody else.
Right.
So if you are experiencing that, do your research, try to find a holistic practitioner that can give you some guidance, work with your nervous system, and just know that everything is okay and you're going to make it through this.
Yeah. You're not going to stay in this feeling forever. And especially if you have tools and things that you can reach for in these moments where you feel, out of control, emotional. If you are moving through this now and all of this is resonating with you, you're listening to this live, or somebody who really needs a reminder on some of these great tips and tricks, we're going to drop some links in the comments, right, Melissa, to just kind of go a little bit understanding your body on a deeper level.
Definitely. I think that you had a workshop recently, the thing that you reach for.
Yeah. And that plays into this, right? It's really when we're in moments of dysregulation and stress where those patterns are looping in the back of our mind, there are things that we are grabbing for that used to help, and now they just make us feel yucky, right? So when we have other things that we can reach for to help regulate us and bring us into balance and into a state of calm, it's so much more relieving. Right? You're not going to have all that negative self-talk. You're not going to hate yourself through it. You're going to say, okay, this is what my body needs. And it goes back to what you talked about before about just starting to track your cycle, understanding what you need for yourself, right? Because it isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. We
have 2 spots remaining for the Gentle Return workshop that's happening next weekend. It's a workshop, 2 hours, where you get to slow down, reconnect, and regulate your nervous system through somatic movement, which I will lead, hypnosis, which Jess will lead, and then we both will be doing Reiki. So that's going to be super fun. And then just 3 weeks post, we are going to be doing a retreat.
Like, you will walk away with a true shift inside of you, whether it's realizations that come up, whether, there's things about your body that you weren't aware of. There's so much that you're going to be able to walk away with. There's going to be tools that you can use moving forward. You're going to anchor into a new baseline state where you're showing up more steady, more clear, just really from a place of ease rather than feeling, chaotic and frenetic. So this is the perfect opportunity to come have time for yourself. You don't have to hop on a plane. It's not, a weekend away. It is, a retreat on 20 acres of farmland. There are horses. It is beautiful. It is like, you're not going to believe that you're still so close to home because it feels like you've taken a trip away without